Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Design Cinema. This is Feng Zhu speaking, and we are back onto the cyberpunk painting thing. But let's try to wrap this up. Today will be the last episode, hopefully. So next week we can start something new. So apologize for the lack of updates last week because I was really busy on the film things. Last minute thing came in, so we had to pull some crazy hours to get it done. So there's no way I could have recorded Design Cinema. But this week, hopefully a little bit better. Right now it's actually my time on a Thursday, so I have a meeting coming up in about 3 hours with some clients. So I'm going to use this time currently to get this Design Cinema recorded before my meeting. So I haven't seen this painting in almost a week and a half here. So let me take a look at what the heck we were doing earlier. Okay, let's just get this thing done. So let's see. Oh, I adjusted the color. Let's just keep this one. Let's just keep this color. We'll save this as a V8 just in case. Oops, typed wrong. And what I'll do today is I'll just start detailing this stuff out. But since I haven't seen this painting in quite a while, I'm going to go and just see if anything in here bothers me. The sphere looks out of place in terms of its location. Hold on a second. Let's see if we get this guy to be. Whoop, what layer am I on? All right. So I'll try to think of something kind of fun to as a theme for next week. Maybe we'll go back to like a video game redesign or something. Those are always quite fun to do. And I think right now the format of Design Cinema, I'm a little bit more warmed up to it. So it's a little bit easier to hopefully produce these things. Okay, what am I doing here? Good thing is that this is a sphere, so I can move it around and it doesn't cause too many problems. Like the little reflection here is off, but that's fine. We'll just paint it out. We'll get this to an okay state and we'll just move on because I don't want to spend again too much time on this. I want to get this out of the way and let's go back to like redesign some Final Fantasy or something. I don't know, something a little bit lighthearted. I have no idea, so it's I guess it will be whatever next week brings us. We will do it. Okay. So thanks again, you guys, for watching and supporting. So if nothing crazy happens in the next few months, I should be able to produce these on a weekly basis for sure. So far, it seems okay schedule-wise. Okay. What brush am I using? I'm actually just jumping straight in. Just had a meeting this morning. I'm jumping straight into Design Cinema, so my mind is a little bit still needs to reset into Design Cinema mode. But I think that's kind of cool, keeping it real, right? So no preparation, jumping straight into Design Cinema from something completely unrelated. Okay, it's looking kind of alright. Let's just flatten that guy out. Paint some of this out. Just paint details. What is on this layer? Nothing. Okay. So hopefully, guys are we did that 3D episode in terms of using 3D tools in today's production. Hopefully that helped you guys understand the flow of how this business works. So again, I didn't have a chance to look at any comments before I started this episode. I'm sure there were quite a bit of comments and additional questions. But to address anything that if you guys want to ask some questions, I'll try to do that in the next episode if I can. I'm sure there were some questions raised in regards to 3D. But some stuff I could try to think on the top of my head is that 3D is here to stay. It's not going to go away. And if you're a 2D artist and all you do is 2D, it's fine. If you're really good at it, especially if you're a little bit on a soft surface, like on character designs and stuff, if you don't know ZBrush, it's still okay-ish. But in terms of hard surface, it's really hard to do hard surface nowadays without the aid of 3D. It has nothing to do with that just because the tool is there, we have to use it. It has to do with speed. This industry moves with anything that could give them fast results and accurate results. So if 3D does that, then 3D becomes the tool of choice. So now you still have to finish everything up in Photoshop, like what I'm doing over here. But 3D is definitely here to stay, and it's only going to get more and more involved into production. So like I mentioned many times, the job we're doing here is not art, right? We're making products. So whatever tools that allows us to make products in a faster way, more precise way, more useful way, then that tool will be utilized for sure. All right. Do some atmosphere separation. The key of all this, really, just know your stuff, know your design language, know your, have good ideas to present to clients. That's what's going to keep you in this business, actually. The tools are just tools. So if you have really good ideas, you can execute them in whatever manner you want. You can actually use 2D if you want. Long as somebody understands what you're doing, you'll do fine in this business. Okay. But it definitely is a lot more competitive than 20 years ago. Concept art is like such a big field now that everyone, even the common game players, know about concept art. But back in the days, you really weren't aware how the stuff was made. But now it's everywhere. Okay. Clean up some of this stuff here, quite messy. Right. So during this phase, the detail phase, I really want my mind to kind of go into automatic mode, because the more I think about this stuff, especially for this type of painting, by the way, if we're doing a more very detailed interior or something, we have to kind of plan that out and think about it. But for this type of stuff, we're doing the mood painting. These details are very suggestive. They're not really there to sell you the actual solution. They're here to sell you the mood. So stuff like that, it doesn't take too much brain power, I guess, to do. So sometimes I like to kind of shut that part off and just let instinct take over. That means I'll probably start blabbering about random things as I paint this. All right, let's get the entrance of the club. For some reason, my computer is pretty fast today. I don't know what happened. Usually I'm recording. Hopefully I'm actually recording. I'll suck if I'm not recording this right now. But generally, because I'm still on my laptop, my PC is actually here. It's been sitting here for 2 weeks. The one I was talking about with the, I don't know what we put in there, like a GTS 1080 or something like that, with tons of RAM. It's actually just been sitting there. I just haven't had time to get it all configured, Windows 10, because it's a PC, this one's a Mac here. I need to hopefully find time, maybe tomorrow if I have an hour or so, to clean that up. But this Mac right now is running really fast for some reason. Maybe because I finally updated it. I don't update my systems often. I turn all that stuff off, and once in a while, every few, like 6 months to a year or something, I turn the feature on to see whatever updates are available. I do that for both PCs and Macs. For me, it's if something works, I'm like way too old school, but if something works, I don't want to mess with it, because sometimes the newest thing might not be the best thing. So system upgrades and all that type of stuff, I tend not to touch it. Unless there's something wrong with your system, like something's not working. But those show up very rarely. But in this case, maybe the Mac is running faster because I finally updated it. I don't know. Okay. Where's my grid? Is it still here somewhere? Okay, there it is. Okay. Paint. This is the entrance. People walking around. Little lights. Dink. All right, what else should we talk about while we're doing details? Let's try to talk about something that's not industry related, so we could just focus on details. Well, hopefully you guys are practicing at home. For those who are really eager to get into this business, don't give up on this. Just keep working at it, keep practicing. But make sure you're spending your time learning really important stuff like your fundamentals, anatomy, perspective. These are things that's going to be your building blocks, your core skills. But as long as you're in front of a screen or paper or whatever you like to use, you are doing something. You got to just keep that up. No magic pills in this business, unfortunately. You can't just watch tutorials and not actually practice at it and somehow magically have the skill appear in your system. You're gonna have to practice over and again, hundreds, thousands of hours, and then you will automatically get pretty good at this. So it's hard work, a lot of hard work. But as I mentioned many times, the reward of this business is quite fun. for both games and films. It's the other side of it. Like once you're in, it's quite rewarding to work in this business. Lots of perks as well when you work in this business. Okay, it's one of those jobs where it doesn't feel like a job, and it sounds very cliche, but it's so true because it's so weird what we do to make a living. We're just making stuff up essentially, and a bunch of other people make stuff up, and everyone's just making stuff up, and you're selling a product that essentially that has no physical presence. It's completely in your mind and in your eyes, right? So like when you play a video game, yes, you're playing it on a PC or whatever, but your experience is something that's essentially existing in a 2D world. Even with VR, it's still 2D. And then you spend hours on it and you walk away with really nothing but an experience. So it's quite weird. Film, same thing. You go and watch a 90-minute movie, you pay $20 for it, and you walk away with an experience. So it's strange to create these things out of nothing, because these experiences really come out of nothing. It's come out of scripts, design things, and of course thousands and thousands of people work to bring that experience. But it's a very strange industry that we're in. We create feelings, I guess. You walk away from a video game feeling happy, satisfied, rewarded, but you didn't walk away with a physical product. Okay, so I continue drawing this logo. Oh, I didn't track the time. What time are we at? Okay, I just assumed 10 minutes went by, so let's see. Okay, try to keep track of time so I don't go over too long on this thing. So detailing, let's talk a little bit about what I'm doing here. For this kind of painting, it's really about just generating some noise here. So the details are not the main key here. Is to create enough noise for the audience to buy scale. So later we'll do things that are much closer up and so forth, and those will give us a lot more, I guess, time to detail out the correct details. For something like this, it's about capturing the mood. So I'm just gonna go in and try to indicate something that looks like a door, something that indicates like a staircase, something that looks like an entrance to a club. And that's okay for now. This, after all, is a little bit of a warm-up piece. This will be something that's done in the very, very early phases of a production. And then generally, after this phase, if the clients go for this type of stuff, then you start going to real design, which is busting the 3D software out, for example, and then modeling this stuff up as a 2-scale set. And then in there, then you start rendering again, perhaps out of 3D first. This is the most fun part of production, actually, is these blue sky exploration sketches. That's too big. That's. I was gonna put some people in this sphere, but I think it looks kind of weird. Okay, let's see. Yeah, but these blue sky stuff is definitely the most fun during the product because it's freeform. It's not that many restrictions at this point. Most projects are not like this, by the way. So if you're practicing like this kind of design cinema stuff I'm doing here, they're done for fun, they're kind of practicing. But these kind of projects are very, very rare in the business in terms of totally cool, open spec, science fiction, kind of doing like really cool stuff. It's quite rare. Most of your projects are very grounded to reality. They're earth-based. So you can't have that much freedom in terms of what you could do. Okay. So let's have some coffee here. It's morning time here. Just got into the office not that long ago. In terms of what I just mentioned earlier, these free-form projects, in terms of where video games are right now, a lot of video games are going into real-world settings for their production. So I did mention this a few times in the past design cinemas, and really has to do with production costs. And it's a strange cycle that we're in right now in terms of video games. Now, I haven't done game design for quite a while. I've been working on films. but I am pretty aware of what everybody's doing, what Ubisoft's doing, or EA and so forth. So in terms of what projects are in development and so forth, due to the fact that we have a lot of students out there, graduates, friends, art directors working on these projects, so I'm quite aware of what they're developing. And right now you're entering the cycle of open world or massive gameplays and so forth. And these things takes a lot of money, takes a lot of time to develop. And a side effect of that is that you have to then make sure that the theme that you're choosing is something that is a little bit easier to produce. And that means real world. Creating anything science fiction, anything that's not of this world becomes much, much more expensive to do because you have to design every single thing in the product. So that's why you're seeing games like Division or what just came out recently, like the Tom Clancy game, Wildlands, right? With the what else is coming out? Like basically, if you look at a lot of upcoming games, they all take place in somewhat of a grounded reality. And this has to do with cost. Because if you're working on something like Tom Clancy Wildlands, you get the geography. What does it take place? It takes place in a South American country, right? Like Bolivia or something. I haven't played it yet, so I'm not too sure. But it's a South American country. I think it's Bolivia or something. Now, if you're working on that project, then you just take geographical data from there. You maybe send some photo scouts out there, just take 50,000 photos or something, and you use that photo stuff to project your landscapes and so forth. Now you still have to build a bunch of assets, but you could do that with a lot of references. You don't need a concept designer to do every single thing. Like if you have a shack somewhere, you could build enough houses and use 3D software, just 3D software that could actually take photos and build out a rough 3D model for you. So you could essentially start generating that kind of stuff. You could also generate I don't know how their engine is done over there on that project, but some games, for example, could even use game engines to generate assets so they could combine and make houses, right? So these are all things that's easily done. Well, not easy, but it's a little bit easier to do when you have a grounded reality. Now, if you're doing something that's completely science fiction or completely like an alien world, it gets much, much harder to produce these kind of things, or it produces this, but it's not believable. So to make it believable, your cost goes up. So, and that's where, and at the same time, gamers want things to look great. They want long stories, long quests, and all sorts of stuff. Then that cost becomes way too crazy to make. So that's why science fiction games, in terms of open world and so forth, are almost non-existent. Let me try to think. Are there anything right now that's open world, that's science fiction? You gotta give me a second to think about that. Hold on a second. In terms of like huge production, you have something like Mass Effect, but it's not open world, although the new one's coming out pretty soon on Andromeda. I don't know if it's open world. I haven't read too much about it. Haven't been paying too much close attention to that project, but I don't think it's completely open world, and most of it's dealing with flying around a spaceship, I think. But in terms of like something like a Grand Theft Auto, a Witcher game, right? There really isn't one, because the production cost is very high. You get post-apocalyptic games, right? Like Stalkers, your Fallout games, right? But they're still Earth-based. They're not entirely science fiction. Fallout, you look at the gas station designs and stuff, they're still grounded to Earth. They're Earth-inspired. Whereas science fiction, like for example, something like this, if you're building a cyberpunk stuff, you could start it with something like New York or Hong Kong as a base, but you have to go in there and detail and custom design everything. Otherwise, the world is not going to feel like it's something that's 300 years in the future, right? It's going to feel like a post-apocalyptic world if you don't do that step. And that makes your costs go way, way up. Of course, there's Cyberpunk 2077, but no idea when that is going to hit the market. I'm guessing not in a long while. Okay. And it also has to do with, I think, the audience as well. Science fiction stuff in general doesn't sell as well as fantasy, in terms of not you can't take a particular title and say it's so better than others. In terms of as a whole, if you look at successful products out there in terms of gaming, your fantasy themed stuff, your real world stuff tends to generally sell a little bit better than your hardcore science fiction. And the same is true for films as well. So from an investor point of view, science fiction, like you bring up sci-fi, is like a big scary thing for investor types in talking about studios who are putting money into this kind of stuff, because they just see risk all over it. Versus like the easiest one would be like zombies. Zombie things are one of the easier to produce products for both films as well as games. Basically anything broken, messy, chaotic, dark, it's cheaper on the production side. So Zombie has all of that, including the characters themselves. You don't have to make like enemies. You don't have to make soldiers wearing like proper clothes. You just you can take a human and mess them up and make them look like a zombie, and the production cost goes way lower. So therefore, you can spend time making the sound, the environment, the feeling looks much, much better. So most of your directors started out with zombie films or something like a zombie film or something that's kind of low budget to get their foot in the door. Like James Cameron was Piranha or something like that, his first film. Peter Jackson did a bunch of zombie films before he got to do Lord of the Rings, right? Steven Spielberg was, Jaws maybe, right? Which is not a zombie film, but it's a very dark film. Or was it Duel, the one where the truck is chasing some guy, but it's also a scary film, very low budget, just a car and a truck driving around the Arizona desert, I think. A lot of your video games also got a start on these kind of zombie, post-apocalyptic kind of start beginnings as well. And then you'll see studios, very rarely do they start with a science fiction product as their first game or film. Okay. Although really Scott did Alien back in '79, that was crazy. But different time. You can't go back to those times of production. Okay. Something I used to mention to our students as well in terms of film design. The golden periods from the late 70s into your mid 90s, I guess, that 15 years is a really, really good golden years. Your 80, like basically 1980 to 1995, 96, somewhere around there. You had a slew of good IPs come out that time period because it has to do with money and time. And ideas. That is the same for games, except games started, I think it's more about right where film started to go into CG, games started to go into 3D. So 1995, 96 with the first Tomb Raider, your first Deus Exes, and your Baldur's Gate, right? You're going from 2D heavy games into the early parts of 3D. And that's between 95, 96 into about early 2000, 2002, 2003. And you're seeing a lot of IPs which are now being rehashed left and right on the gaming side. And the film side is doing the same thing, except they're rehashing things from the 80s and the early 90s, right? So, and again, it comes down to cost. Because back in the days, if you had a good idea and you want to make it, well, maybe at least on a video game, maybe the most it'll cost you is like $5 million, right? And that's a lot of money, still $5 million bucks, but $5 million is very little money compared to what you're building out today. $5 million can't even buy you an art team today. Just like concept team could maybe cost you like $5 million. Whereas back in the days, you could make an entire product out of that. So you had a crazy idea, well, you could raise $5 million bucks. You could put your house up, there's ways to get $5 million. And then you make a game and it becomes successful. And I think that's where Baldur's Gate was born, right? BioWare, formed by a bunch of doctors, I think, that were programming as a hobby. I think that's a story. I read that a while back. But they had enough money to be raised by themselves to essentially make games. So nowadays you have that on the indie scene, but the quality, you can't compete in terms of if you want to make your own Far Cry or something. You can't unless you have millions and millions of dollars. No matter how good your idea is, unless you use the indie route, which is reduce the cost of the art production way down. So that's why you see a lot of like pixel art, a lot of 2D art and so forth. That's an attempt to lower production costs. So you're not going for photoreal and all that type of things that raises costing. And that's the sort of time period I got into this business during that early days of 3D. And I was fortunate to get into that early. I don't think I will be where I am today if my timing wasn't exactly the same. Because now it's just much harder. One, it's competition. Two, the barrier of entry is much, much, much higher now than when I was getting started. when I got my job at EA, my first job, technically it's not even EA, it was Origin, right? Making Wing Commander and Ultima. It was like 400 people, and I was told I was the first concept artist they hired in that studio. Prior to that, they didn't really use official titled concept designers. They just use anyone who draws well and call them illustrators, essentially. And these guys also do 3D, right? After they draw the concept, they're also modeling, doing texture work. So it's kind of like jack of all trades. There wasn't a title in which all you do was concept design. So that's how rare it was back in the days. I used to get people coming to my office and ask, what the heck do you do here? I'm serious, like at EA, because my title was concept designer. And I used to get programmers coming to my office saying, wow, I wish I could be a concept programmer. That would be the funnest job ever, which is like, I imagine this engine could do rain really, really nice. I imagine this game engine could handle physics really fast without CPU cycles. Okay, my job is done. You guys make it, right? That's how they saw my job, is like some guy in the office just coming up with ideas and they actually don't make any of it. You know what I'm saying? So because it's the early days, they never, a lot of these programmers didn't work with real concept artists, I guess. Well, not real, but officially titled concept artists. So they were coming to my office and just going, what the heck do you do here? You draw a bunch of stuff and then you have a job here. Meanwhile, the rest of them actually have to program and make the 3D assets. So they thought my job was really weird. Okay. I even have producers come to my room to do the same thing. It's like, I want to be a concept producer, because it was so weird to see my business cards on the doors of EA. They sometimes put your titles on it. So it's like my door has concept designer on it. So of course people come in and like, what do you do here, man? I want to be a concept producer. I want to be a concept sound guy. I want to be a concept programmer. Because they saw that as really weird. No other department has a concept except for the art side. Okay. Okie dokie, there's bus. This bus is still a little goofy, but better than before. But it's been really fun to jump back into design cinema to give my brain a break from the craziness of work. So I do enjoy it, but work is stress in a fun way, but stress is still stress in terms of especially on the film side, you're dealing with so many factors, VFX companies and all these things that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And to do some design cinema and to talk to you guys out there is a really nice break. So, and doing this in real time takes off a lot of pressure for myself. But as a result, I cannot guarantee its quality because I have no idea what I'm doing when I start these. So at least this one got lucky. The painting is somewhat okay, but hopefully we don't do future episodes in which we twiddle our thumb and nothing comes out for like a whole hour. I don't know. Okay. That's the thing about these are essentially doing things live, because I'm not going to stop this recording and then like redo it or something. So whatever we have here is whatever we get. Okay. I also want to start to get into some design philosophy type stuff, like how to start a project. I definitely want to get into that. The only thing with that is I'm a little bit worried about, for example, pulling up Google images of other people's work and so forth, or even like finding references and stuff directly on Google. I'm not sure how YouTube treats that stuff because you're looking at copyrighted materials. I'm not too sure, but it's probably okay because we're doing it as just examples of things. You know what I'm saying? For example, I want to pull up some screenshots of video games and so forth. It should be okay. Since in a way we are using photo textures and all that type of stuff as well. Okay, let's get these people isolated, little alien dudes. Let's build out this guy a little bit. Oh, now my computer's starting to slow down a bit. I'll stop this in about 10 minutes or so to just make sure that my computer is actually recording, and then I will continue recording the rest of it. All right, I think maybe I use this time to talk about some advices as well. We have probably got some new subscribers to this channel using this new design cinema. So yeah, if you're a student trying to get into this business, The number one thing you could do is don't give up on it. You have to practice, but you have to really, really like this business. So don't do this because you like to play video games. Obviously, playing video games is important, or watching films is important. That's your background. But do this because you like to design and are willing to spend hundreds of hours making your designs come alive in terms of drawing, Photoshop, using 3D. It doesn't really matter. If you don't have that, there's no way to survive this business. Because right now, even though we run a school, and sometimes when we interview certain students, you get the sense that they want to be in this business because there's a false perception of what we do, which is, oh, we work in video games, so all day long we're just playing games. Because you ask a lot of questions like, where do you want to work at? You get things like Blizzard, BioWare, and so forth. And yes, I understand those companies make great games, but why them? Why not the hundreds of other studios that exist in the world that also make good games? It's because they're currently playing those games, right? They want to essentially use those games as a reason to work there. But is it the concept design that you want to do, or is it more about playing more Overwatch at Blizzard and getting admin accounts or something, right? So it's really about having fun designing. Having goals to work at Blizzard and BioWare is fine, but understand what that means to you. Is it really that you want to spend? Is it that you want to go to Blizzard to be part of their design thing, to offer fresh designs to them? You're willing to put in many, many hours there to maybe even work on games that might never release, to pay your dues and draw jars for Diablo and so forth, right? Or is it that you want to go there because you just want to go play their games? But you have to be the former, which is you're willing to put in the hours to design. So in most cases, when you work in the game studio, you actually end up playing very little of its own product because you work on it all day. The last thing you want to do is actually play it. So do this for the right reasons. Because games now, especially games, is becoming popular in terms of its popular culture can't speak English today. Acceptance, right? It's no longer seen as geeky and all that stuff as being a gamer. Right now, it's highly valued that you're kind of geeky and playing games and so forth. So now we are seeing an influx of students who are getting in, might not actually want to do design, but just want to be part of the business. And concept design is seen as at least perceived as an easier way in, because programming, you're going to have to go learn C++, music, you have to go learn and learn some kind of instrument and learn the right music. Concept design is one of those things where it's like, oh, I just draw some stuff and I could go work on Mass Effect, right? But it's not easy at all. It's just as hard. In fact, might be harder to get in than being a 3D artist. Not because of skill involved, it has to do with the position available. So there are just way more 3D artists in the company than there are concept designers. So your chances of getting in is higher on a position that has more openings. So, okay. And this is one of those businesses where you have to really invest, especially in the beginning, a lot of your time. You're going to have to give up something. If playing games or going out, having fun, those bring more joy to you, then you're going to have a hard time with this. You're going to have to find the joy in doing this instead. Okay. Don't want to scare you guys off, but the concept industry is it requires a lot of good core skills, and it's unfortunately you can't walk into it. Okay, draw some buildings. All these things I mentioned before in Design Cinema, but it's been so long. It's again like half a year since we made a new one, right? So I'm kind of repeating a lot of the stuff I said, just mostly for our younger audiences who are fresh, new followers that haven't heard me say those things. Because I don't want to say false realities, right? To our students as well, we don't ever build it up to be a false reality. Like, oh yeah, you just draw some stuff and Blizzard will love to hire you, right? We actually say like it's actually almost impossible to get to a place like that. You have to be the best. And to become the best, you have to work, and putting hours and dedicate a significant amount of your life to this business in the beginning, okay? Once you've been doing this for a while, it gets much, much easier because you build up a reputation, you have a portfolio, you have real projects under your name. then you could just kind of sit back a bit. You still got to work hard, but you don't have to worry about in terms of like, where's the next job going to come from? That's something you don't have to stress anymore because clients are always inclined to work with the same people. So if you did something good for somebody, they generally just continue working with you. And that relationship could last years. It could last decades, actually. Because if you're working with some studios, say like Ubisoft or Electronic Arts and BioWare, whatever you're doing, and you do a good job, why would they switch over to somebody else? Unless you did something wrong, they're not going to switch because that way they trust you. All your contracts are signed. You understand their their pipeline. You understand their lore. So switching to someone new is actually very hard. So they generally keep with you. And these companies are not going to go away. They're not going to die out. So they're going to continue working with designers and art directors they like. You see that on the same thing with actors and directors, right? Like Zemeckis worked with Tom Hanks a lot, or currently Ridley Scott likes to work with Matt Damon from The Martian, right? Then he brings him back for some other films. So these are things, it's like you work with someone you like, someone that you get along, personality and everything, then you stick with it. So concept design is similar. So the longer you're in the business, the more clients you will have. And you don't even need a lot. If you get 3-4 very stable clients, if they're big like EA or Ubi, you can stay in this business for a very, very long time because they'll just give you all their projects. Okay. Time is it? 17. All right, I should probably stop this in a little bit. Amazingly, my laptop is really, really fast. I have no idea why. In the previous 3 recordings, this laptop will lag like crazy when I'm doing this. Right now, it's actually almost all real time. I guess it has to do with the update. Maybe I should update my computer more often. Where's my grid? Let's put some drones flying around or something. Let's see. Let's try to put some textures in here. Let's see. We've been painting for a while. Let's see if we could throw some wildcards in there. What do you have? Cities here. What I got? Cloud alphas. Let's try this. Right now it's experimental phase. I just want to see what happens. I want to put some smoke or something. This one doesn't look quite right though. Let's see. I love me some smoke in cyberpunk worlds. So there's always like steam coming off somewhere, who knows what. Back area there looks kind of alright. Let's see, copy and paste this elsewhere. Just messing with this texture real quick. It's not bad. I can sort of leave it there, I guess. Leave that little tiny bit here. Let's see here. I got this guy as well. Oh, this one's way too big. Throw some clouds up in there. Just testing stuff, see if it looks right. Probably not. Alright, that doesn't look quite right. Let's throw that away. These one we could keep. Alright, let me do a quick stop on this one real quick before we crash or something and we lose all the things we've been doing. Alright. Okay, let's continue recording. We did record, amazingly. Did not, I thought I didn't record anything for the last like 35 minutes or something, but it did. So I gotta thank some kind of update to make this computer much faster than before, which is great. It makes the recording way more fun. Maybe I'll keep it on this Mac for a little bit because I actually bought that PC because I couldn't stand the lag on this, what am I using? PowerBook Pro or something. So it seems much better. So maybe we'll keep it on this Recording on the Mac is actually a little bit easier than on PC. The PC, you have to like run a bunch of stuff to get it all going. On a Mac, I mean, I guess that's what makes Macs kind of good is that you just install Camtasia. I'm using Camtasia to record. You load it up, it finds all your peripherals and everything. You just record it, you don't have to do anything, and then it works well. You don't have to do any video conversions to Premiere or anything. So maybe I'll keep it, or maybe I'll just keep this laptop as my little Design Cinema recording station and do something with the PC. I don't know. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna warp this little heart thing a little bit. What? Copy paste wrong there. Okay. Copy paste. Just want to give this little here some perspective. This tool is great. This warp tool is really awesome, especially for organic things. Okay. Before, after. Oops. There we go. You can actually use warp to design. You can use warp to make creatures. It's great. Maybe we'll do that in a different episode. You can actually draw some stuff and use warp to mess around the design. It's almost like 2.5D or something like that, in which you can start morphing your drawings. It's quite fun. Maybe we'll do a sketching, a sketching episode. I've been doing paintings quite a while. I haven't even drawn for so long because it's somewhat of a dying art unless you're working at a place like Disney or DreamWorks that still really values 2D designs in terms of line drawings of characters and stuff. But in terms of films and video games, everything is moving to photoreal. Everything's moving into textures, So you don't get like black and white sketches that much anymore. So maybe we'll do one of those episodes. I'm not going back in time in Design Cinema. But keep in mind, Design Cinema for me is also an area to relax. So I want to do things that just kind of entertains myself and hopefully entertains you guys. It's not something I want to be stressed out doing Design Cinema, like doing this elaborate pipeline thing or something that's just like work. So I'll try to do those once in a while, but the reason why I could do Design Cinema and keep it going for as long as I have is because I use it as a way to sort of relax myself from work. Okay. Some highlights here. Maybe I just tell more random stories about the early days of being in this business. The concept thing was pretty funny. Okay, let's see. Back then it was really crazy because 3D was so early in the dev cycle of things. 3D, there was no like, again, NVIDIA and ATI and all these, they didn't even exist. So it was just 3D effects and these cards, these companies, which I think now is no longer around. And 2D was still the overall dominant platform to develop on, right? Baldur's Gate was 1999, something like that. Baldur's Gate 2, 2000 maybe. I can't remember the exact date, but I remember playing Baldur's Gate while I was working in the industry already, and those are pure 2D games. Planescape Torment, right? Planescape, can't talk this morning. Planescape Torment. That was around 1999, 2000 or somewhere around there. And then in the early 2001, 2002, that's when you started to see the really fully started to develop 3D games like your Deus Exes, Morrowind follow up in like 03, I think, right? But it was a fun time to be a designer in the business. My first job almost was not EA. It was almost, it came down between a few places. I got my offer at Wargen, and then about a week later, I got a call from Blizzard from a producer friend of mine over there. So he's no longer there now, and then also got an offer from Sierra, which I don't even know they're around anymore. Sierra was making the King's Quest games at the time, and I loved Sierra games when I was in junior high school and high school. I loved their stuff. Their King's Quest, Space Quest. I mean, they were the king. Them and LucasArts were dominating the 2D games. So when I got an interview at Sierra, I was like, oh, That's awesome. The only reason why I didn't choose it was their location was way too crazy. They were actually located inside the national park Yosemite. That's why their logo is the rock from Yosemite. So they were working on King's Quest at the time. And I'm glad I didn't go there because I think that product actually never came out because they were at the last stages. Sierra moved to 3D way too slow. That's part of the reason why they collapsed, I think. So, but I was going to get hired to work on the next King's Quest game, which is a 2D adventure game, right? I loved it because the title, you got to keep in mind, this is back in the 1997, 96, somewhere around there. Those games were the stuff, You're like, oh man, I get to work on King's Quest. How cool is that, So I got there, saw them working on the next one. They were using 3D in terms of building the assets, but the game itself is still 2D rendered. So kind of like Planescape, Torment was like that, right? It's like the assets are built all in 3D and so forth. So I would definitely want to work on the IP, but the location, I couldn't do it. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I could work in a national park, So it's cool, it's beautiful. I love nature, I love hiking, I love all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if I could live there in the entire time, so especially when I was 19 years old at the time. So I was like, coming from Los Angeles, a giant city, I was like, I don't know, man. So I actually didn't take that job. Ended up going to Origin in Austin, Texas, which is quite crazy. I mean, at the time, Austin is a very, very cool city, by the way. It's a really cool city, but it was very different than Los Angeles. But I loved it out there. It was really fun. I had some really good fond memories of working at Electronic Arts during those early days because it was so relaxed, it was so fun. On weekends, you had nothing to do but to go biking. And Austin is a very, I guess, health-conscious city. A lot of activities to do with the outdoors. So if you like to ride bicycles, climb cliffs, and fly airplanes and do whatever you want, Austin's really good for that. Live music, great nighttime scene. So it's a lot of fun. All right, what am I talking about? Stuff nothing to do with the concept design. Let's see. I always wonder when I'm teaching students that start talking about this, they're just going, oh no, things blabbering about random stupid stuff again. Can't help it. It's one way for my mind to keep off the doing these details and so forth. Okay. And in my second job, I was still in Austin, Texas, and then I remember the company wasn't formed yet. It was basically what happened was Wing Commander Online got canceled. Right, that was a game that I worked on for almost 8 months, I think, about 8 months, quite a bit of time. And then it was at that time Origin got bought by Electronic Arts, right? When I started there, it was still Origin, and then EA came in the middle of that and bought them out and formed it into EA Austin, and they canceled Wing Commander, and they probably for the right reason. I think the game was way too ambitious at the time, so it wasn't. There's no way you could make that game. So they killed it, and what happens was that team, the producers and all the execs, decided to form a new company and invited me to join them as a concept designer. But at that early stage, we didn't have an office, but we needed PCs to work with. So they bought us these amazing PCs that we had at home. And I remember playing Half-Life with it, the first Half-Life. It was a good memories. Playing it all maxed out, back in the days. Whoa, what's going on with my PC? It's kind of jumping around. I mean, my Mac screen here. This painting, it's okay. It's not the coolest thing ever, but I think it was a fun little warm-up to get back into design cinema again. So I think next episode, I want to draw something. I'm not sure yet. I'm itching to just take out a pen and just sketch some stuff. It's been so long since I drew stuff. Do some creature designs or something, or spaceships or something. I don't know. sorry if this episode was mostly talking about random stuff, nothing to do about the business, but I'm just trying to finish this painting and we'll start some new one next week for sure. And that one will bring up some more industry relevant information. But let me know in the comments what you guys want me to, especially when I'm starting to blabber about stuff. Do you guys find the stories to be more interesting, or do you want to blab about the industry, or maybe a combination of both? But leave your comments. I'll definitely check it before I make the next episode. So if there's any questions in there, I'll try to get those answered as well. Boom, boom, boom. Draw. Fun. Okay. Bunch of cities back there. We could put some logos on this thing. Let's see. Let's make a quick logo. And what those things do is it tightens up your designs really fast when you have something super tight in there. Let's see. Trying to make a logo. This one smaller. Oops. Trying to make a logo for the bus. Looks like a little dog. Okay, that's our logo. Now overlay or something. What that does is it kind of just gives you a little area of really high definition lines. Like it looks super tight. It's a little trick that you could use. You could use also text for that kind of stuff. Like, for example, write something here. Oh, once we write though, we cannot reverse. So, but I think I like this composition. I think I'll keep it here. So let's see here. Oh, Helvetica, the default Mac font. Let's see. Let's put it in here. Oh, we never give the club a name. Maybe I have to do it. Swoop. It's kind of fun. Let's see. It's kind of cool. Trying to find a layer setting that could hide a little bit. Let's try lighten. Actually, I'll select this layer. We'll use a gradient to wash that in. Let's see which one's better. You use different colors actually. That's kind of cool. 21. We'll put some other text on the bottom. What word should we use? Like just use a cool word like metropolis or something. Oh, it's kind of long though. What's another cool word? Titan? Isn't that the NVIDIA card? Let's see. We'll use wave or something. Okay, let's see. Using the warp tool. This one's not in the most ideal location for this. Let me try to do it here. You go to your sphericalize, which is one of these suckers. I don't know if it's gonna work though. Let's see. Oh, that didn't do anything. All right, let's see. This one is not going to work as well as the 21. I should have typed it wave. Actually, can you still pronounce it as W-A-W-E? So it's nah, that won't sound good. Okay. It's like a light projection inside the sphere. So it's like rolling around the ball. That's how I imagine the VFX to be, you know. So it's moving around. So the real one will go up the ball. Needs a little bit more work. Yep, it's good. It's kind of cool. Gives the ball a little bit of context. Okay, let's see. Feels like I need some particles in there or something. I have a dodge brush on right now. Also gonna warp this. Okay, let's see if we can mirror that. That's probably too strong. Let's get rid of that. Okay, these guys are all okay. I'll leave all that there, and let's merge all those. All right, we're gonna commit to it. Let's save us another version just in case. But this painting is, you know, overall is okay. I don't want to spend too much more time on this thing. I think for a first episode of warm up, I think this is probably okay. I actually really want to move on to something else. Let's see, what time is it? Okay. So let's do this. Let's do like a question one. I think answering you guys' question about the industry and anything to do with skills you require, whatever you guys want to ask, put those into the comments section. And what I'll do is I'll have our staff here gather those by next week, and I'll do a sketching episode. I think it'll be kind of fun, where I just go back to white paper and just draw, and that therefore allows me to talk a little bit more easier, because painting I still got to focus a little bit, but if I'm doing just sketching, it's much faster, so that way there's something on screen for you to see while I try to answer some of those questions. I think it'll be kind of fun to do that, because having core sketching skills is something that will never ever go away. So I know there's 3D and all these things, but the initial idea still starts with a nice sketch, and it's something you don't see often anymore. Something we're trying to press our students to still do more of, which is before you commit to something, think it out, you know, on a sketchbook. It could be the roughest little drawing, but it helps you get your ideas down. So we'll try to do something like that. I think maybe next week will be kind of fun. highlights a little bit. Maybe we'll do some drawings or sketches of ideas, and we'll just use really quick markers. It's kind of going back in technology there, but we'll choose maybe a good IP that we could redesign. We'll start from just drawing only to start it. It's just ideas on paper versus starting up with a painting. I remember last week I read some of the comments like redesign like games like Turok and all these things. It'll be kind of fun. We'll go back and see what comments are. Boom, 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 boom. People walking around. So a lot of indication here. That's what these paintings are supposed to do. Just get the feelings there, and then we'll have to develop it into actual designs eventually. Oh, speaking of that, I can't talk today. Planescape Torment, their kind of spiritual successor just came out like what 2 days ago. I haven't played it yet. It looks pretty cool though. Maybe we'll do something like that. It'd be kind of fun. I'd love to see some old retro games done in a pseudo 2.5D. I mean, a 3D but isometric view. It'd be so cool. Like what they did with XCOM, right? XCOM, the new XCOM strategy games, XCOM 1 and 2, which is it's all 3D, but it's still isometric for most of it, right? You're seeing it down, and then they'll go into like an action camera or something. But imagine that kind of camera, but for or that kind of technology, but used on games like Baldur's Gate and so forth. It looks so awesome. They're doing that with some of the retro games coming back, your CRPGs, right? Like your what's that called? Divinity, right? Those kind of titles. It'll be fun to revisit some of those, like Fallout. Imagine Fallout, but done like XCOM, right? Because the original Fallout 1 and 2 is not in first person. They're isometric games, so it's really fun to see like XCOM level of development, but for like Fallout. I think that'd be really, really fun. Okay. Because there are some games that are trying to do that, like, what is that, Underrail or something? It's kind of like an original Fallout inspired game, but it's still kind of, each environment is kind of static. So it'll be kind of cool to make a very living world by an isometric view. Just like that Divinity game. Okay. Alright, I think this painting is at where it's at. Where is that? We don't need that no more. Throw that away. We don't need that no more. Throw that away. Don't need 21 anymore. Throw that away. This layer, don't know what it does. Throw it away. That's our grid. We'll keep that there. That's our black and white. Alright, last thing. See if we could try to mess with colors. I actually like this color scheme. I think it will just probably keep it, but let's see. This is going back to the original palette. This color balance too is so nice. It's like super cyberpunky blue right there. I kind of like this purple one for now. Let me see. This one's also kind of nice though. More blue. I think this is like the original one was like that. Let's see. Let's put that. Try on the layer. Alright, anyway, so leave it there. That's kind of cool. Alright. So I think I'll leave it there for now. I think this episode, I think we've been working on this for long enough. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this first part of Design Cinema's comeback. And I'll be back next week with some Q&A. If you guys put the questions up there, I'll try to answer as much as I can. Or maybe we'll do a drawing, a redesign. Actually, I have no idea. But tune in next week. And I gotta thank you guys for subscribing and liking our videos. And thank you so much for the patience for us being on hiatus for so long. So yeah, thanks again. And I will talk to you guys next week. This is Feng Zhu signing off. Bye-bye.